Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another session of Tech Talk with me. I am your host from Tech Jobs Fair, Tripti Sinha, and today we are joined by our special guest, Miss Nischa Don Maak. And we are going to discuss an exciting topic that will be a game changer for your career. So let me give a brief introduction about Nisha. She is a certified career coach and former hiring manager for over 12 years. She specializes in helping internationals get their dream job and upgrade their career in Scandinavian culture. So, hi Nisha, how are you doing
Hello.
today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for joining us. We are just, grateful to have you here for your session and to know your, experience and get insights from you. So thank you so much for joining us today.
I've been looking forward very much.
Yes. So, guys, just to give you an introduction about the title, we are about to understand our career coach's guide to slay the most important part of the career, that's your interview, right? But before we dive into the topic, let's take a moment, Nisha, to uncover your journey in this industry. And if you could share a little, journey of yours with us.
Of course, yes. As you said, I'm a Danish career coach and I help international and Danes get their dream jobs. And I can say, no matter where you are in your career right now, I think I've been there. I've been fired, hired, headhunted, promoted, bullied, and I had a whole lot of interviews as well. And during my time as a hiring manager for 12 years, I've been on one side of the table, but of course, I've been on the other side too when I've been job hunting in the different areas. So all that knowledge I have been looking forward to put together and give all of you today. So I look so much forward to pass that knowledge on to you.
Thank you so much. So I actually want to begin with, how everything has become remote and everything is online, right? People apply for jobs online, they get, hired online. So what is the best tips that you can suggest when it comes to online interviews?
Well, when it comes to online, of course, we don't have that feeling of the room that we normally have.
Mhm.
So that makes it even more important that we communicate clearly. That can be with our voice, with our hands, speaking a little slower than you would normally do, and giving that
Mhm.
extra second room to hear if there's anything else they wanted to say, because you can't really sense it in the same way.
Uh-huh.
But actually, to get any interview, I like to start just to how do you prepare for any interviews, because we're gonna dive a little bit deeper into the online part. I just want to say for anyone who got an interview right now, congratulations, because that's really important and it's amazing. And you need to know that you were invited for a reason, that they would not put aside their busy day, time in their busy day to meet you if they did not think that you would be the right one for the job. At least they
Right.
don't, they think it at this stage. So be happy no matter if it's online or offline. This is really good, and they invited you for a reason, and that's because they think you are one of the right one to do this job. So I just want us all to remember that we are equal in that situation, because they need a
Uh-huh.
new colleague, we need a new job, and now let's see if the terms fits together, right? So
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
that's just important to remember always, no matter if it's online or offline. Um, so very important, but also that the fact that we have the power of preparation, and preparation are so many things. It can be trying your outfit even online, at least the top of your outfit,
Yeah.
trying on before, sit in it, make sure you feel comfortable, because that's also preparation. But in more practical terms, present sorry, to prepare for something could be to read up, because right now you have a lot of
Mhm.
thoughts in your head, you have a lot of stories, and you want to give all of the information to them. So to remind yourself before the interview, what information about you do they sit right now? I suggest that you read your CV again, the application you sent to them, the cover letter. Maybe if you save the job ad, just to get back, you're maybe applying for multiple jobs. So to be clear
Hmm.
on this one and remind yourself about what information do they have, so you know what you should repeat and build up on. So
Right.
that's a form of preparation, a power of preparation we all have, because no one just call and say, "Can you come to an interview in an hour?" So we all have that
Yeah.
in, online and offline. So that's of course important, and of course also reading up about the information about the company, industry
Yeah.
trends, the seasonal news, and all that stuff. So that's of course important. But let me maybe get back to the online. Of course, it's important to check that you have a good internet connection. Maybe test it out. There are sites where you can check that out. You can have play around with a light. I have a ring light now, but for 2 years I just used a lamp and shined it in my face when I was interviewing or coaching. So it's just about
Hmm.
having the right light, or maybe put yourself in front of a window so they see your facial expression, because they have nothing else
Yeah.
on you.
Hmm.
Another thing I would say is the background. Make sure it's not too noisy or it disturbs you
Hmm.
too much, because you want the attention on you, right? So,
Exactly. Exactly.
but you can use the background smartly. I coached this amazing girl who wanted a job in the botanical garden of
Uh-huh.
Copenhagen. And I said, why don't you have a plant in the background? That's what I would expect. So she went out and bought this plant before the interview. And actually, for 5 to 10 minutes, she said, they were talking about that plant. So it was such
Uh-huh.
a way conversation starter that we don't normally have in the chit chat online. So it could also be
Yeah.
here to incorporate that. But I have the most
That's really
important.
interesting.
Oh, good, good. I have one more important tips, and that is to eye level yourself with the camera. So for my,
Yes.
I have a, normally we have a work desk that's a little bit lower, so we relax, so we don't sit like this. So put a book
Uh-huh.
under some books so that the camera is in the same eye level as their eyes would be if you were meeting them face to face.
Yeah.
And here's the extra important and difficult thing, that is, try really to look into the camera, just like I do now. You can feel me so much better, right? Than if I do like,
Yeah.
and I talk to you and I look at the picture and I explain a lot of things. Now you feel we're in a conversation. Now you feel that
Right.
I'm more watching the screen, right? So,
Yeah.
a little tip for that is take a post it and put a smiling face and cut the eyes out for holes. And then you can set it over your camera so you remember, speak to the face. Don't speak to the screen when you have an interview.
Uh-huh.
It's that's
Yeah.
the advice I brought for today. The thing
That's interesting.
So that is, I think, my main points about the online interview and just preparing in general. Um, and of course, when I look in the camera here, I have to sacrifice the safety feeling inside me to see if you like what I say, or if your
Uh-huh.
expression tells me yes, go on, or oh, what was you saying there? If you roll your eyes at
Yeah.
me, I can't see it because I'm choosing to look in your screen eyes instead of down here. So of course, take some breaks to catch up sometimes, but always go back and talk directly into the camera like this. Yes,
Yeah.
that was my tip
That
for.
gives a very positive, presentation of yourself, like how you want to put yourself out there, confident, and you know what you're saying, when you're looking at the camera. Otherwise, they might think like you're fidgeting or something. And
Yes.
I really like to mention, I think, few things that I grasped from what tips you gave. One was definitely, when in or like the plant. So I think it's very important to understand the common interests that you share, like your job role and the company, right? So like you said, for botanical garden, the plant, yeah. So I think it's very interesting to understand that common ground between the organization and your experience or your job role that you're applying for. So
And
that's
that's
really, really
actually,
interesting.
yeah, I can actually add to that because that's not only for the background. If you are looking for a job in a scientific field where you would be in a laboratory or with the food industry, I would suggest for you to put your hair up. So you already look like someone who would work there and not have the hair all down that you wouldn't do in a normal workplace. So it's also
Right.
sometimes about putting, adding the visual and use it to your benefits, not too much, and it
Mm-hmm.
needs to come authentically and naturally. But it would be smart if you're a designer, have some earrings that also tells that you have a style or a design. So there are lots of tips where we can actually work with the visual things that we don't really speak about, but it's just underlined.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So I think everyone needs to work on these little few, attributes of them, because right now this is the world. It's online, right? Everything's becoming digital, so we need to adapt and learn, I guess. That's
Yes.
very important. Now, let's get back to, uh, our old school kind of interview. So, what what do we do to make the best start when it comes to face-to-face interviews? Because I understand some people, they have so much of experience, so much of knowledge, but then when they are in front of the interviewer, they just go numb. They don't know what to say. So, what could be the starter for a face-to-face interview?
Oh yeah. Well, everything starts with a good night's sleep, right? And be hydrated and have eaten. That's actually not even for fun. I say that, and it's not to make a smaller thing out of it. Because as a hiring manager for 12 years, I have sat in a lot of interviews where people's stomach was speaking louder than them because they skipped breakfast, they were nervous, or they were like, "I'm taking it after." But if I can hear your stomach rumbling, and it kind of takes my focus a little bit away, right? So
Right.
again, power of preparation also when it goes to the most basic things. Also, if it's a morning interview, online or offline, call someone else first to get your voice warmed up and to get you in the mood, get your brain and voice activated together. Even
Yeah.
play a game on your mobile phone if it kind of starts the thing. So again, that really also, especially maybe because you come there and you want to look fresh when you meet them. So especially maybe in the offline interviews, but in general, both. Make sure you have all of that prepared so you are fully ready and everything you can do is ready. But when you come to the interviews, I would say a good start is coming in the right time. um,
Yeah.
as a former hiring manager, I would say 20 minutes is the max, maybe 15 minutes is better, because sometimes I don't want my candidates to meet each other, or I was planning to have a little coffee in between the candidates and look, get myself into the next candidate and away from the other one. And if the receptionist are calling me and saying, "Nisha, she's already here," I can't really enjoy that coffee. So that's just a perspective from
Hmm.
the other side of the you. But even more importantly, for your own sake, if you come there 20 minutes before, you will just sit there and be even more nervous. And you can't really sit with your phone because that doesn't look good. And then you will just sit there
Yeah.
and overthink, right? So I say come 10, 15 minutes before. You also have to calculate that maybe someone is at the receptionist when you come, so you have to wait. So yeah, I would say come in
Hmm.
the right time and don't be too early, and of course never be too late. But that goes for itself. Besides that, I would say when I came into interviews as a talent that had job interviews, I would always ask for the bathroom, just to go and check how did the travel over here treat me. Do I have something in my teeth? So just to look in the mirror and say, "We got this. Now I'm gonna go." So
Yeah.
that's nothing uncommon, at least in our culture in Denmark, to just go and say, "Can you wait with calling? I'm just gonna go check," and then you go back and say, "I'm here now." And often they will ask you to take a seat. You can take a seat, of course, but you can also choose to walk around. Normally, they have things on the wall or some art, or even better, if you feel that it's the right time and you have the right vibe with this receptionist, try to talk, try to get into a conversation. Because that's a really
Hmm.
interesting thing when I come and pick you up in the reception and you are already chatting with your maybe new colleague. That shows me also
Yeah.
something. So I don't say do it if it doesn't feel natural or if you're too nervous about the interview, but if it does, it's a plus. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then, of course, they will pick you
Definitely.
up and follow you to the room, and they will ask you, "Do you want some coffee or do you want something to drink?" And in when I was younger, I always said no, and I think that's very common because we don't want to bother. No, I don't need coffee. I don't need
Yeah.
anything. But I actually found out when I started to have interviews that it's a hygge, it's a ceremony to drink something warm together. It's something that makes us come down in this situation together. You drink something warm. It's very cultural in many cultures to do. So I started saying yes, and of course, if you don't like coffee, ask for tea. That's normally standard. They have both of them, right? But say
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I just want to say about having a good start for an interview is you already know what the first question is going to be, right?
Tell me
Everybody
about
knows.
yourself.
Yes, exactly. And it's funny, we all know this question, and then people freeze. And then they're like, oh,
Yeah.
about myself. I like yellow and I have a dog. And you say yeah. Or you start to just repeat your whole CV from stop to button, and that's stupid, right? So we know this question.
Yeah.
So the power of preparation is, of course, um, train this question. Say it in the shower when you go for a run in your sleep. Say it again and again, so it falls so naturally when you get that question, and
Yeah.
if you got that good, safe, natural start of your interview, then it will roll more from there because everybody knows a good start. Then it will get better from there, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the tips in all interviews in general. You know that question. Please rehearse it. Make it crisp. Make it interesting. That's a lot of the things I coach in because even the best salespeople, the very best who get tough salaries, they have a hard time selling themselves. So I understand it's
Yeah.
hard, but I'm saying you get that question. So come on, be prepared. Don't come up with one
Definitely.
in the interview. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, I mean, that's the, most known question for any interview. So, if you could just add up like one, two guidelines to, what exactly to speak about when they ask, tell me about yourself, especially for freshers, right? Because
Yeah.
experienced people can add on their experience and then they go up to adding their hobbies and everything. And then, they talk about their past experience and all that. But when it comes to fresher, they all start with I'm this from this particular place. I have this many members in family, and then
Yeah.
this
You
is my
don't
this is
need
my
all that.
hobby because they don't have an experience to share. So for a fresher, what guidelines can you give? Like a two, three, a keywords that they can have and then elaborate on that particular words.
Well, they can, freshers, they have a lot of benefits that they forget. I want to just start with saying that they have the newest knowledge from the
Mm-hmm.
education. They are often very, very in tune with industry trends. And they have the whole technology, technology raised them, so they know how to do all of that. So that's I would say throughout my career, because it's still a career, or throughout my studies, I have been focusing a lot about and then come with some of the keywords that this job is about. So you connect, and work experience is one thing, but you have your passion projects, you have your your school paper you have wrote written in lack of a better word, sorry, but you have your specialties that you have focused on, you have written report about. So all of that you have, and that is experience, and it's really close to the newest knowledge. instead of being from some company that were maybe a little out of date. You can have sitting there 10 years and not be on the same level as the freshers. So talk about your passion, talk about what you have always done. It could even, I coached this marketing girl, and she started her talk with saying, well, ever since I was a little girl, I have been taking my bathroom breaks in the movies because I never wanted to miss the commercials between the movies. This was what I was fascinated about ever since I was a little girl, and I was trying to write my own. And then she talked about that passion all the way back from she was 8 years old. So it's maybe also about showing
Mhm.
what do you do to gather information
Yeah.
and knowledge in that industry that maybe not only have something to do with your paid full-time contracted work experience. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Because it's like it's not because they already have the resume, to know about the past experience. So I think it's very important to tell them about who you are, or
Yes.
what experience you've had, and what do you look in the future, as a person, not as the candidate of the job, but as a person in whole,
Yes,
right?
because we're curious about the personality behind the talent. Everybody are
Yeah.
who works in HR. We are people's person. So this is also something we need you to connect, and we use it to get to know you and your passion and your action taken better.
Hmm.
Experience does not need to be, as I said, full time paid work experience. There are so much more other experience you can bring.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Thank you so much. So, okay, now this is like, how we start the interview and everything. Now then it comes to them um, asking other things about what do you know about the job, or tell me about your experience, and what do you know about the company and everything. And once the interview almost is, close to the end, then comes the, do you have any questions?
Yes,
And
yes.
sometimes candidates have no questions. They have a lot of questions in head, but nothing comes out of their mouth. So, because they don't exactly know what to ask, how to ask, I guess.
Mm.
Even me, like taking my personal experience from the past, there were times, I mean, do you have questions? I'm like, no, I don't have any questions. If I have any, I'll come back to you.
Yeah, and either
So,
because you don't want to bother them or keep them or something, again, misunderstand politeness, just like saying no to coffee.
uh,
So again, I would say this is the power of preparation. You need to show them that you want this job and you have putting your thoughts into that position. And this is
yeah.
not just one of your 8 interviews that week. Maybe it is and good for you, but don't tell them, right? So I just want you to be prepared for that. And if you have some questions for me that are relevant, that are maybe a little bit smart, then I get impressed. So there are two different versions of questions, but both of them actually I want you to just ask like you already work there, like you are preparing to get started. So you need to ask some
Hmm.
questions based on that, and that could, for example, be what day-to-day system are you using? Because maybe you need to brush a little bit up on your Excel, who knows? Or maybe you need to, maybe you actually have a lot of experience with exactly their calendar system or their email system or CIM system or all that we use. So ask them, what kind of system are we use day to day? And if it's something you know, say, oh, I know that very well, because that's an extra impression. But it's also smart for you to know, instead of you just start there in 2 weeks and then you get all the knowledge at once. It's lovely to know what kind of systems are you going to use. um, you
Yeah.
also ask about the role more specifically. Is this a new role that they have created based on some needs, or are you actually taking over from someone else? Because that can be a
Uh,
big difference when you start. If you're taking over for someone else, you can ask, in what state am I taking over the role? Maybe it was someone who got fired and left it all a mess, and you have to clean up it. And it's good preparation for you to know, but also good for them that you already show interest in the practicalities, right?
Yeah.
But maybe it's a new created role, and of course you're curious about what are the KPIs, what are the success criteria for this role, what are the thoughts
Yeah.
behind it, what do I need to showcase for you, so you keep it a role in the company, but you also keep it my role, right? So of course this is a good practical question, and both kind of prepare you to get started on that job, and it also confirms
Hmm.
your interest in that. But you could also more value based, because now we need to go back and remember this is an equal situation. You are interviewing
Yeah.
them too, and maybe you have something you learned in your past that you would never do again, or you wouldn't be in that work situation again. So maybe you have some questions. Ask carefully. We don't want to, take our dirty laundry and show it and say, "Oh, my past, and promise you never do this to me." We don't want to come off broken, but of course, we have some questions. So one of them could be, what is your? Can you tell me about your induction plan for this role? How do you prepare to get
Hmm.
the person started, trained in the different things? How long, and what is in that training period? How do you plan to make it a part of the whole organization? That's interesting
Yeah.
to me. And if they don't have a plan, that's a bit of a red flag, I have to say, because if they say, "Oh, you just get started and figure it out," that's
Yeah.
something that you maybe would say, "Ah, that doesn't sound like me." And if you have 2 or 3 jobs to choose between, maybe that's not a situation you want. It's also an opening to say, would it be possible to create something? I learned from experience that it's a far greater success, right? But it's a value based question, not as practical, but still. And another one is, ask them directly. Can you give me an example of someone you have developed within the company, to kind of let them know that you also expect something. You come here and give your 8 hours and sweat and tears and daily.
Exactly.
So what do you get? Do they do something for their employees to keep developing them? And instead of saying, "Do you
Yeah.
do it?" they could just say, "Yes, we do." But ask for an example. Say, "Can you give me an example or two about how you, for example, carry out this and this?" Yeah.
Right. Right. It's very important to, be in a work environment or a work culture which is, healthy for your mental peace, because you're going to spend half of your day, like, almost like 8 hours or to 9 hours, doing work for that company. And like you said, it has to be, you know, agreeable to both, like the employer and the employee, because even they are expecting something out of us, and we should also expect something out of them. That's very
Oh,
true,
it's
because
an
it has to
equal.
match even your, yeah, it's 50-50.
Yes,
It's
yes.
definitely
At this
50-50.
point, at least, it is.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Because there are a lot of candidates, yes, for each position, but there's also a lot of jobs out there for you. So we all
Exactly.
need to see how they fit. Yeah.
Right, right, definitely. So I guess this brings to me, this brings to the breaker of the interview that we always have, right? Salary.
Salary. I was
You know,
afraid you would say that.
that's the deal breaker, either for the interviewer or for the interviewee, right?
Yes, that
Because sometimes they might end up being an interview who's paying a compensation lower than their past company, and then they don't want to settle for that. Sometimes that happens. So this is the exact deal breaker that actually comes in an interview, according to me. So
yes.
how do we negotiate?
Well, that is a harder one. But I would say, in any negotiation, try, if possible, to be the one who don't say the number first. That's because then
Hmm.
you can end all down here if they were here or in the middle. So try to be the one who don't say the number first, and that can be hard. You are in their home field when you are visiting them for an interview, and they maybe ask first. They would typically say, tell me about your uh, salary expectations, right? Here I would try to gently take the ball and play it back to them and say, to be honest, you you're the ones who know way more about this position, what it's worth for the company, what it's valued to. Can you tell me what have you budgeted for it, circa? I think it's fair
Mhm.
because they know all about this job and you don't know anything, right? You just got a job ad that is maybe not even from the hiring manager, it's from the HR department or third party. You don't know enough. So to ask you to
Mhm.
put a number on it, it's a little bit unfair to me. So I would try at least to throw it back gently and say, you know so much more about this. Tell me, what have you budgeted for it, circa? So that will open up for something. And to I would say, maybe they will say, well, we want you to put the numbers first, or I ask first. But either way, you showcase that you can negotiate, and that will impress them no matter what. That you at least can. You showcase some negotiation skills, so that would always be impressive, even though they say, yeah, yeah, smarty pants, but I asked you first, right? And then you could go for a circa 3-4 thousand gap when you say that. So when you then ask for the salary, when you say that I was thinking something between this and that, try to pause
Yeah.
the money talk and say, but can you tell me what is also in the salary package? Because then you
Mhm.
freeze the money a little bit and you force them to tell you what is in the package, and normally it's not that much. It's not something that equals 2-3 thousand lesser pay, uh, pension, a company party in the summer, stuff like that. It's thing of free fruit on Fridays, and so it's not something that goes too much. Of course, it's lovely to have, and you kind of force them to tell that, um, to tell what is in the package, and then you can go back to the money talk that we freezed up here and say, well, then I think it would be fair to talk about, and then you go to the highest one that you talked about, right? Then you put the ball, and then
Mhm.
it's their time to go back. But the first
Yeah.
rule is try not to say the number, try to avoid it, and at least showcase that you have negotiation skills when you try to make them put the number first.
Right. That's very interesting. So I think you would know better, right, about the negotiation. So you already mentioned the actual very useful tips because I also believe it also depends on the situation.
Mm.
you know you can't really say because every time this negotiation topic comes for different recruiters, different job seekers, it's always different. And we cannot answer for everyone because everyone has a different thought in their mind why they want the job. Sometimes it could be an emergency that they want the job and they'll just settle for anything the company is providing, right? So
Yeah, and we
I think
don't know
it's
what the company
really,
is providing because they often don't put it in the job ad. So the thing is,
yeah, they
we
don't.
have an unknown number, but actually, no matter if they wait, like I like that they do to the interviews with talking about the salary. I also see companies call up in the pre-screening call and
Mhm.
ask what is your salary expectation, and even here it's even more fair enough to say I can't put a name of a number of the role because
Oh,
there
yeah.
I don't know enough. You just called me. I have I have to meet you. I like to understand more about the company that this job ad cannot provide before I can put any number on it. But I'm curious and I'm still interested. So if you want to meet me, we can do that. That's so okay to say. I think
Yeah,
personally it would be
definitely.
fair to make you put a number on it. Yeah.
Right. Right now, it feels like, we are really going through the journey of the interview. So
Mm.
I do have like a one final question for you, which is, for sometimes, this they say, hey, we'll get back to you in a day or two after everything's discussed, and they don't get back at you. and you feel it because you don't know what to do, because you're like, even if you have like an other opportunity in your hand, you don't really understand what to do, like, because this might be a better option, but they're not reverting, right? So how do we follow up usually after the interview ends, and how do we follow up on the interviews?
Yes, normally I would tell you to ask in the interview, when can I expect to hear more? And then you get that date and you
Mhm.
put it in your calendar so you remember to follow up on them, because it shows them the interest and that you are a detailed person. It showcases a lot of good things, right? That you know how to follow up there. So set a reminder for your calendar or for the day after that day, but in between the interviews and their next invitation or rejection. But we think positive. In between then, what you can do is you can thank them. After the interview, send them an email, let them know that you really like the vibe, the atmosphere, the talk, that you felt very welcome. Anything you can tell them shortly to praise them. Don't overdo it, of course, but just let them know. Thank you for a great experience. And it's a reconfirmation that you are still very interested in that job, if you are, of course. That will only
Mhm.
be lovely. You know, if I had a lot of interviews and somebody get back to me and said, Nisha, that was nice, thank you, you do your job well, then I will be happy. And it's not to make it too much extra, but just let them know, thank you. After the talk, I like to reconfirm I'm still very interested, and I also like this vibe. Um, some
Yeah.
people, some hiring managers and recruiters, they don't mind that you add them on LinkedIn as soon as you meet them. Others, they prefer that you wait until you are a colleague. But the thing
Mhm.
is, you can of course ask in that email, or you can ask when you add them in a note that you hope this is okay to connect with them. But what I normally say about LinkedIn is that LinkedIn is a social media, right? So you're just being social on social media and connecting with the people you have met professionally is no shame. It's how they want you to do, right? So it's a take
Yeah.
chance. That's how I would say. Um, but then, are you connected with them? Be active on LinkedIn. Showcase your skill. This is your bragging period. So really show them.
Yeah.
Maybe you are connected with the company as well, or you follow the company page. If they put something up, you can interact in the comments. You can tag if you have another person for another role that you are not interested in, and write under the comment, I had an amazing interview there. They are really, really a cool organization. Maybe it's something for you, Annika. And then you tag someone. So kind of keep yourself in the loop in their mind as well online. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, right. Now that you mentioned about LinkedIn, I just want to add one more question here, which is, because now everything's mostly online, but even if we have like an offline interview or like anything to do with offline jobs, we send our resume first, right? We attach our resume, which has our LinkedIn, right? So, do hiring managers actually open up LinkedIn? Because I feel there are still people out there who are not very active. Is still a second part, but they don't update them. So they're not updated on LinkedIn, right? Although they have a lot of experience, but they're just not on LinkedIn. So, but right now, I feel LinkedIn is so important because everything's online. So I just wanted to understand, do hiring managers really go through your profile? And does your profile actually reflect on being whether to be shortlisted for the role or not?
Yes, LinkedIn is a top tool for recruiters, headhunters, hiring managers, because it's a tool where I can pay and go directly and say, I look for people in this area that has this experience that would like to work with this in this role. So it's an amazing tool for recruiters and headhunters to use. It's also an amazing tool for you to showcase your skills and because CVs are small. It's 1 to 2 pages normally, right? So
Yeah.
I use the LinkedIn as an extended CV where you can put all the extra result and all the fantastic success stories you have in. Other people can recommend you there, so I get other people's view on how you work. not these greasy old
Mhm.
papers when an ex-manager wrote, it was nice to have her here. She is not here anymore. But now this is more personal, and I can see their face and click on their profiles, and it's more authentic. So it's a really good tool. I know it's cultural, and some countries don't use it, some don't, some does a lot. In Denmark, it's really, really used. Um, so that's definitely a place I would go. Also, to open up when you apply for job, as you say, in an online world. There's a lot of companies from UK, Portugal, Denmark, Sweden, where they are looking for jobs and hiring managers are working there. There are no other big
Yeah,
social media that we can really use to mix our network and our professional life like we can here. So go on LinkedIn
definitely.
if you're not there, and please join in 2 days when I'm doing the networking event at your tech job fair. So I'm gonna tell a lot about how to online network from everywhere in the world with the country, with people of the country and the industry you want to move to, but also how to offline network and really get even more connections every time you go out. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, that's very nice. So I think I just want to wrap this up with, thanking you for being here, sharing these beautiful insights. I guess this is so much important to so many people out there because they really need to hear this and understand this process of interview. And coming from, a former hiring manager who has been on the other side of the table, I think it's really, really helpful. And thank you so much once again, but
Welcome.
we do have some time constraints for now, so we have to bring this session to an end. But we will always come back in the future with many more, interesting topics and sessions. But before we end this session, is there anything that you want to add from your end, Nisha, for our viewers?
Just again, networking, not networking is not working. That's what I say. And that goes for both online and offline. It's so valuable. Also, when it comes to your interviews, as we talked about today, it's much easier to get interviews if you know people that know someone in the company or even knows the hiring manager. It's easier for you to impress them when you sit in the interview and you tell them how you actively use your network to access knowledge and idea generation, inspiration, long-term relation building, and of course in salary negotiation, as we just covered now. It's easier for you if you have a big network, or if you have a network, to say, well, based on my research in the job indexes, as well as my network in the industry here, I would say this and this amount sounds fair. So network can be used in
Yeah.
all steps of your career. So please join us on Thursday at 1 p.m. to see my not networking is not working little talk there. That would be fantastic. And thank you,
Yeah.
Tripti, for this interview. It was very, very nice.
Thank you so much. And for all the job seekers out there, you can always, go on to our website, techjobsfair.com, and you can see both our virtual and physical events updated. And if you want to join any virtual events, and we have one upcoming soon on 18th of April, that is day after tomorrow for Sweden. So you can always go to our LinkedIn page and, just add the event to your calendar. And if you are interested in attending the physical event, you can just go to the website and register yourself. It's, of course, free for the job seekers. So I'll see you guys in the next session. Until next time, bye bye. And thank you so much, Nisha.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Bye.
Bye bye.